Be me, 34 female, partner at a law firm. Specialize in family law, make $280,000 a year. Married to David for 8 years. He's a freelance graphic designer making maybe $35,000 on good years. Constantly speak at legal conferences about women's rights and divorce proceedings. Wrote several op-eds for legal journals about how alimony protects vulnerable spouses from economic abandonment. Women sacrifice their careers for marriage and deserve financial security when men leave them high and dry. Always get standing ovations when I give my economic justice and divorce speeches. Feel like I'm really making a difference for womankind. David started staying home more after we married, said my schedule was so demanding that someone needed to handle the household. Honestly, perfect arrangement. He takes care of all the domestic stuff while I focus on my career. He cooks, cleans, manages our social calendar, takes care of our 2 cats. I work 70-plus hour weeks building my practice. Whenever other lawyers complain about paying alimony to ex-wives, I shut that shit down immediately. Your ex-wife gave up her earning potential to support your career advancement. She deserves compensation for that sacrifice. It's basic economic fairness. The law exists to protect the economically vulnerable spouse, and that's usually women. Probably made this speech 200-plus times at various legal events. Other female attorneys always thank me afterward for being such a strong advocate. Feel like I'm carrying the torch for women's financial rights. Marriage starts getting rocky around year 6. David complains I'm never home, that we don't spend quality time together, says he feels like a housekeeper instead of a husband. I'm like, I'm building something important here. This is bigger than just us. Try to explain that my work advancing women's rights benefits all of society. He doesn't seem to appreciate the significance of what I'm doing. Starts saying he feels unfulfilled and wants to get back into his design career seriously. I'm supportive, but honestly, his little freelance projects barely bring in coffee money. Why would he want to abandon our perfect arrangement where I am the breadwinner? Arguments become more frequent. He says I'm dismissive of his feelings and treat him like hired help. Accuse him of being intimidated by my success like so many men are. You can't handle being with a powerful woman. He gets this hurt look like I've completely missed the point. Things deteriorate rapidly over the next 2 years. David starts sleeping in the guest room. I'm honestly too busy with a major case to deal with relationship drama. Representing a woman whose tech executive husband left her after 15 years of marriage. Fighting to get her $6,000 per month in alimony because she gave up her teaching career for his family. Feels incredibly important. This case could set precedent for high-earning spouse obligations. Come home one evening to find David sitting at kitchen table with papers. I want a divorce, Sarah. Completely blindsided. Apparently he's been trying to communicate his unhappiness for months. Honestly, don't remember him being that clear about it. I was dealing with major cases. When did he expect me to focus on his complaints? He's already contacted a lawyer, some hotshot family law attorney named Jennifer Walsh. Fucking Walsh. I know her reputation. She's ruthless. She primarily represents men in divorce proceedings. Always thought she was kind of a traitor to her own gender. Figure this will be straightforward, though. I make 8 times what David makes. I'll probably owe some minimal spousal support. Nothing I can't handle. And frankly, he deserves something for managing the household. My lawyer is confident this will be simple. Maybe $800 to $1,000 a month max, given the income disparity and short marriage duration. Prepare for court feeling totally prepared. David's lawyer starts laying out their case. Apparently, they're claiming he sacrificed his career growth to support my professional advancement. Say he gave up networking opportunities, turned down projects that required travel. Claim he provided essential domestic support that enabled my high earning capacity. This is exactly the argument I've made dozens of times for female clients. Starting to feel weird about this. Walsh is using my own legal strategies against me. She literally quotes one of my law journal articles about economic contribution of domestic labor. My own fucking words being used in court against me. David testifies about how he handled all household responsibilities so I could work long hours. talks about missing career opportunities because I needed someone to manage our life. Describes feeling like his role was to facilitate my success at the expense of his own growth. This is literally the exact testimony I've coached female clients to give. Judge is nodding along sympathetically. My lawyer objects, but honestly, Walsh has built a solid case. She's essentially arguing that David deserves compensation for his domestic labor contribution. The same argument I've successfully made for women countless times. Realization dawning that David actually did sacrifice significant career development. He's 36 now, been out of serious design work for years. His portfolio is outdated, his industry contacts have moved on. Fuck, this is actually a legitimate claim using the exact legal theory I champion. Walsh brings up my public statements about alimony being economic justice. Quotes my speech from last year's family law conference. The higher-earning spouse has an obligation to provide security to the partner who sacrificed earning potential. She's throwing my own activist words back at me in court. Judge mentions that economic justice should be gender neutral. Says the same principles that protect women should equally protect men. My lawyer tries to argue that the income disparity isn't severe enough to warrant significant support. Walsh counters with documentation of David's career stagnation, shows his earning trajectory before marriage versus during marriage, proves his income actually declined while mine skyrocketed, demonstrates how his domestic support directly enabled my partnership track success. This is the exact economic analysis I use to justify large alimony awards for women. Judge asks me about my capacity to pay substantial spousal support. Given my income level, I can obviously afford significant payments. Every argument I've ever made for supporting economically vulnerable spouses applies perfectly to David. Judge rules that David is entitled to rehabilitative and transitional spousal support, orders me to pay $4,000 per month for 6 years. $4,000 fucking dollars. Nearly $300,000 total. Feel like I've been hit by a truck. This is exactly the kind of award I would celebrate if the genders were reversed. David looks relieved, like a huge weight has been lifted off him. I feel completely betrayed by the legal system I've spent years defending. How did this happen to me? Walk out of courthouse feeling like everyone is staring. Other lawyers in the hallway probably know about this already. Legal community is small, gossip travels fast. Imagine them all thinking ironic that the alimony advocate is getting bit in the ass. Drive home in stunned silence. $4,000 a month is going to seriously impact my lifestyle. I'll have to give up my luxury apartment lease. No more expensive shopping trips or spa weekends. The wine collection I've been building is now a frivolous expense. Start calculating how this affects my finances. After taxes, I'm taking home maybe $180,000 annually. $48,000 going to David means I'm living on $132,000. Still good money, but fucking hell, that's a massive chunk. More than I spend on rent. Sit in my empty apartment, realizing David took half the furniture. Place feels hollow without his decorating touches. He actually had good taste, made our home feel warm and welcoming. Never really appreciated how much work he put into making our life comfortable. Pour myself wine and try to process what just happened. The legal system worked exactly as designed. Economically vulnerable spouse protected from abandonment. Check. Higher earner held responsible for supporting dependent partner. Check. Domestic labor contribution recognized as valuable economic input. Check. Everything I've advocated for years just fucked me over completely. Start getting angry about the unfairness of it all. David chose to scale back his career. No one forced him. He benefited from my success too. We had a beautiful home and comfortable lifestyle. Why should I be penalized for being ambitious and successful? Immediately catch myself thinking this. These are literally the exact arguments deadbeat ex-husbands make. The same reasoning I've spent my career dismantling and destroying. She chose to be a stay-at-home mom. She benefited from my success too. Why should I be penalized for working hard? I've demolished these arguments in court hundreds of times, explained how they ignore the economic reality of domestic contribution. Fuck, I'm becoming everything I've professionally opposed. Check my phone, several missed calls from colleagues. News travels fast in legal circles. Martha Chen from Family Law Division left a voicemail. Hey Sarah, heard about your case, wanted to see how you're doing. Can hear the barely concealed amusement in her voice. Everyone's going to be talking about this. The feminist lawyer who got hoisted by her own petard. Next few weeks are brutal. David moves out completely, taking his share of everything. Apartment feels like a hotel room now. Realize how much of our life's warmth came from his domestic efforts. Never learned to cook properly, always relied on him for real meals. Living on takeout and expensive prepared foods. Laundry piling up because I never mastered his system. Social calendar completely fucked because he managed all our relationships. Friends were mostly people he cultivated and maintained. I was always too busy with work to invest in friendships. First spousal support payment is due. $4,000 electronic transfer to David's account. Feels like paying ransom. Wonder what he's doing with the money. Probably finally investing in updating his design portfolio. Getting the career development he sacrificed for our marriage. Still feels surreal that I'm financially supporting his independence from me. Coworkers are being weird about the whole situation. Some are supportive, others seem to find it quietly hilarious. Overhear junior associates whispering about ironic justice. Want to explain that this is different, but how? Every argument I come up with sounds like the bitter ex-husband complaints I've spent years countering. Have lunch with Rebecca from litigation. She tries to be supportive, but keeps saying things like, at least you're practicing what you preach. Must be satisfying to see the system working fairly regardless of gender. Want to scream that this isn't what I meant. The laws were supposed to protect women from male economic abandonment, not create some gender-neutral wealth redistribution system, but saying that out loud would destroy everything I've built my career on. Catch myself resenting David's new freedom. He's posting on social media about new beginnings and rediscovering passion projects. Meanwhile, I'm working same brutal hours but with significantly less money. He gets to reinvent himself on my dime. Sounds familiar, though. This is exactly how bitter ex-husbands describe their situations. She gets to stay home and find herself while I work to pay her bills. I've always explained that this misunderstands the economics of domestic contribution, but living it feels completely different than arguing it. 3 months in, David texts me about potentially going back to school through. Wants to get certification in digital marketing to modernize his skill set. Asks if I'd consider increasing support temporarily to cover education costs. The fucking audacity. Start typing angry response about how $4,000 is already generous. Then remember my own legal arguments about investing in dependent spouses' earning capacity. I've literally argued that education support creates better long-term outcomes for everyone. Delete the angry text. Send back, have your lawyer contact my lawyer. Hate how reasonable his request is within the framework I've spent years advocating. Meet with my attorney to discuss David's education support request. She explains that it's actually a smart move that could reduce long-term obligations. If David can become self-supporting faster, spousal support duration decreases. It's exactly the kind of rehabilitative approach you've recommended for your clients. Agree to additional $1,500 per month for 2 years to cover his schooling. Now paying $5,500 monthly to support David's career transition. More than my mortgage payment. Start having dark thoughts about how the legal system is biased against high earners. Catch myself and realize I sound like every wealthy man I've ever opposed in court. The system isn't biased. It's working exactly as intended. Protecting economically vulnerable spouses from abandonment. I just never imagined being the one with the obligation. David sends thank you text for agreeing to education support. I know this isn't easy for you, Sarah. I appreciate you understanding why this is important for my future. Want to be angry, but he's being completely reasonable. He's not gloating or being vindictive. Just a person trying to rebuild his career after years of domestic focus. Exactly the kind of dependent spouse I've spent my career protecting. Except now I'm the one writing the checks. Start questioning everything I thought I believed about divorce economics. Do I actually support spousal support as a concept, or did I just support it when it benefited women? If I oppose David's claim, am I betraying my own principles? But if I accept it, I'm financially fucked for years. Realize this moral complexity is exactly what men have been dealing with forever. Legal system that forces you to support someone who chose to leave you. Never considered how that might feel from the payer's perspective. Always focused on the recipient's vulnerability and need. 6 months post-divorce, run into David at coffee shop near courthouse. He looks good, healthier somehow. Tells me school is going well. He's enjoying learning new skills. Mentions he's dating someone, a teacher he met in his marketing class. Feel weird pang of jealousy. Not because I want him back, but because he gets to start fresh. While I'm still tied to him financially for years, his new girlfriend gets to benefit from his domestic skills he developed while married to me. Meanwhile, I'm still figuring out how to manage my own household. He thanks me again for supporting his education. I know you didn't have to agree to the additional amount. Want to point out that I didn't really have a choice. My own legal theories made his request basically bulletproof. Instead, just nod and say, I hope it works out. Watch him leave feeling completely defeated. He gets financial security, career development, and a fresh start. I get to work the same stressful job while paying for his new life. This is exactly what I've told women they deserve from their ex-husbands, but experiencing it feels completely different than advocating for it. Year 1 of spousal support payments almost complete. David successfully finished his digital marketing certification. Already landed a decent position at mid-sized agency. His lawyer contacts mine about potentially modifying support downward. His new income means he's less financially vulnerable. Should be good news since it reduces my long-term obligations, but somehow feels like another defeat. He succeeded partly because I funded his transition. Now he gets to keep that success while I'm still paying for it. Meet with financial advisor about long-term planning. Spousal support obligations have completely fucked my retirement timeline. Can't afford to max out investment contributions while paying David. Meanwhile, he's building new career with my financial support. Advisor suggests I consider appealing the support amount. Explain that's impossible given my public advocacy for strong spousal support. Would destroy my professional reputation and legal career, trapped by my own principles. Second year, David gets promoted at his new job, posts social media photos from expensive vacation with new girlfriend. While I'm staying home because $5,500 per month has seriously impacted my discretionary income. Feel bitter watching him enjoy life funded partly by my money. This must be exactly how every paying ex-spouse feels. Want to call him and demand explanation for how he can afford vacation. Then remember, this is the same controlling behavior I've seen from bitter ex-husbands. How dare she spend my money on luxuries? I've always explained that support recipients deserve financial autonomy. David doesn't owe me detailed accounting of how he spends the money, but knowing that intellectually doesn't make it feel better emotionally. Start resenting the legal framework I spent years building and defending. These laws were supposed to protect vulnerable women, not create gender-neutral wealth redistribution that could hurt successful women. But that's exactly the equality I've always claimed to support. Can't argue for female-specific protections without undermining everything I've advocated. Attend family law conference where I used to be a regular speaker. Colleagues treat me differently now. Some are sympathetic, others seem to find my situation amusing. Don't get invited to speak on spousal support panel, probably because my credibility on the topic is complicated now. Hear whispers about the lawyer who learned what alimony really costs. Professional reputation shifting from women's advocate to cautionary tale. Third year, David's income has grown substantially. He's successful in his new career, making around $75,000 now. Still qualify for continued support under the rehabilitative timeline. His lawyer argues he needs remaining 3 years to fully establish career stability. My lawyer suggests we could challenge this, argue he's sufficiently rehabilitated. But the precedents I've helped establish favor longer support periods. I've literally written about how rushed transitions harm dependent spouses. My own legal scholarship is being used to keep me paying longer. Realize I've created a legal framework that actively works against my current interests. Every argument I could make to reduce support contradicts positions I've taken publicly. If I argue David should be self-sufficient faster, I'm undermining every dependent spouse I've represented. But if I accept continued payments, I'm financially fucked for years, trapped by the very system I helped create and strengthen. 4th year, finally meet David's girlfriend at mutual friend's wedding. She's lovely, kind, clearly adores him. They're talking about moving in together. She mentions how much she appreciates that David handles most domestic responsibilities. He's amazing at making a home feel warm and welcoming. The skills he developed during our marriage are benefiting someone else, while I'm still paying for him to have learned them. Watch them dance together, looking genuinely happy. Feel complicated mix of emotions. Glad he found someone who appreciates what he brings to relationship. But bitter that I'm still financially supporting the domestic skills he's now sharing with her. They'll probably get married eventually, maybe have kids. David will likely become primary domestic partner again. Same pattern as our marriage, except with someone who values his contribution. Meanwhile, I'll still be making support payments for his previous domestic service to me. Until I've paid over $250,000 for 8 years of housework and emotional labor. Math I've done for female clients dozens of times. Always seemed fair when I was calculating what men should pay. Feels astronomical when I'm the one writing checks. 5th year, David and girlfriend get engaged. He posts long social media essay about finding someone who sees partnership as true equality. Obvious dig at how he felt undervalued in our marriage. Comments full of friends congratulating him on finding real love. Implicit message being that what we had wasn't real love. Want to respond that I loved him. I just had important career priorities. But that sounds exactly like the dismissive attitudes I've criticized in workaholic husbands. I loved her. I was just focused on providing for the family. I've always argued that love requires presence and emotional investment. David needed things from me that I was too busy to provide. Same way wives need things that career-obsessed husbands often can't give. Maybe I was exactly the kind of emotionally absent spouse I've spent years opposing, just with gender roles reversed. Final year of support payments approaching. David now makes $95,000 at senior marketing position, owns house with fiancé, planning wedding for next spring. I'm still in same apartment, still working brutal hours, still single because dating is impossible with work schedule. Haven't learned domestic skills David tried to teach me. Living space is functional but cold, no energy to invest in making it feel like home. Realize I've become exactly the stereotype of successful but personally unfulfilled professional. Same type of person I used to criticize for prioritizing career over relationships. Except now I understand how it happens. Work demands everything. Personal life becomes secondary. Success requires sacrifices that aren't obvious until it's too late. Make final spousal support payment on exact 6-year anniversary. Transfer $4,000 to David's account one last time. Total paid $294,500 for education and rehabilitation support, more than many people make in 5 years. David sends thank you text. I know this wasn't easy, but your support really did help me rebuild my life. I hope you can find happiness too. Gracious message, no gloating or bitterness. He's genuinely grateful and wishes me well. Makes it harder to stay angry at him. He didn't scheme to take my money. He just used the same legal protections I've spent my career defending. System worked exactly as designed to protect vulnerable spouse from economic abandonment. I'm not the victim here. I'm just the high earner with obligations. Same position thousands of men have been in. Same obligations I've argued they should accept without complaint. Sit in apartment, realizing what I've learned. Spousal support isn't unfair when it protects people like David. Domestic contribution does deserve economic recognition, but being the one who pays feels completely different than arguing others should pay. Financial obligations to ex-spouses create real hardship for paying party, even when legally and morally justified. Maybe I've been too dismissive of how difficult these obligations actually are. Doesn't make the system wrong, but makes it more complex than I understood. Spent 6 years learning what my male colleagues already knew. Supporting an ex-spouse is financially and emotionally difficult, even when it's the right thing to do, even when they deserve the support, even when the system is working fairly. Legal framework I helped build is gender neutral and economically sound, just never expected to be on paying side of equation. David's wedding announcement arrives in mail. Beautiful couple, clear they're perfect for each other. He found someone who appreciates his domestic talents, someone who values partnership over professional advancement. Meanwhile, I'm still working 70-hour weeks at same firm, still making good money, but completely alone. Wonder if I learned wrong lessons from this whole experience. Maybe problem wasn't spousal support system. Maybe problem was how I approached marriage and partnership. Treated David like support staff instead of equal partner. Prioritized my career advancement over our relationship health. Same mistakes I've criticized workaholic husbands for making. But when I did it, I told myself it was about advancing women's rights, that my career served larger purpose beyond personal success. David needed things I was too busy to provide. Emotional presence, shared decision-making, genuine partnership. I gave him financial security, but not respect or attention. Exactly the dynamic that destroys marriages regardless of gender. Maybe paying spousal support was appropriate consequence. Not because system is biased against high earners, but because I failed as partner in ways that had real economic impact on him. His career suffered because I treated our marriage like business arrangement. My success enabled by his invisible domestic labor. Support payments were compensation for that contribution. Same economic logic I've used to justify awards for female clients. David deserved financial security while rebuilding career I helped derail. System worked correctly. I just didn't like being held accountable. Reflection after 2 years post-payments. David happily married, successful in career, seems genuinely fulfilled. I'm financially stable again, but still professionally and personally isolated. Learned to value domestic skills and work-life balance, but maybe too late to apply lessons in meaningful relationship. Don't regret advocating for spousal support laws. They protect economically vulnerable people in legitimate ways, but understand now why paying spouses often feel bitter. Financial obligations to ex-partners are difficult regardless of gender. Legal system can be fair and still feel personally devastating. Maybe that's just the cost of economic justice in divorce. Someone always pays, literally and figuratively. This time it was me, and honestly, probably deserved it.